Some of the harshest reviews of Senator McCain's debate performance coming today from the conservative members of his own party. The right-wing blogosphere left wondering where the Republican was, to quote one, in last night's debate. And worse for them, that Senator Obama did not come off looking like a terrorist sympathizer. Andy McCarthy of National Review Online, quote, memo to McCain campaign, someone is either a terrorist sympathizer or he isn't. Someone is either disqualified as a terrorist sympathizer or he's qualified for public office. You helped portray Obama as a clearly qualified presidential candidate who would fight terrorists. And it wasn't just Governor Palin that Senator McCain failed to mention last night. Bill Whittle on the same blog, quote, nothing tonight on abortion, on corruption, on associates. This was not a great night for our team. It's up to the 527s now, I think. I don't know how else to get the negatives about Obama out there. And Catherine Jean Lopez, also at NRO, taking more of the glass half full approach, quote, the good news, I doubt too many people sat through this whole debate. Actually, it was 63 million, a little more than their first debate watched. Let's turn now to MSNBC political analyst Lawrence O'Donnell, also, of course, a contributor to Huffington Post. Lawrence, good evening.
Good to be with you, Keith.
Continuity, staying on message. Are those right-wing critics right in terms of structure? If you're going to descend into the slime using Bill Ayers, you can't just use it at the rallies. You have to bring it into the debate. You have to have the audacity to say it to Obama's face and take the consequences?
What you just read, Keith, is some of the sharpest criticism I've heard of the McCain campaign. And, of course, the problem with taking it into the Tom Brokaw-moderated town hall environment is that it would have looked really terrible. And there wasn't, obviously, in that audience, they had their questions. None of them had questions about Bill Ayers. It wasn't something they were going to be interested in hearing. And so the way they've been playing it seems to be the one that makes sense to them. Now, as much as McCain would like to say we're not going to talk about Bill Ayers, the second you agree to a Sean Hannity interview, as they did today, that's not going to be about anything else. To say Sean Hannity is obsessed with Bill Ayers is an understatement, and there's no way they knew that going into that interview. They absolutely knew they were going to be talking about it.
Yeah, well, on the other hand, if Robert Gibbs could clean Sean Hannity's clock last night, I imagine even John McCain could stand up and say, no, we're not going to talk about it. But this is a bigger question. My old partner in sports crime used to say, just because Dad has the power tools out does not mean the kids get to use them too. Are these issues, is this particular thing, the Ayers story, the Wright story, are they power tools? And did McCain just manage to cut off his base while not adding independence by using these tools?
It does seem to be isolating him to his base in the sense that it is not appealing to independents. We have polling on this. This is no longer guesswork. We know this is not working. And the polls have produced exactly, the voters are saying exactly what they want to hear about. Overwhelming majority, the number one issue is the economy. That's what they want to hear about. They don't care about these issues. And so to continue to drill them, as the McCain campaign is to make the campaign seem less and less relevant to the voters they might be able to get, the swing voters, the independent voters. It really is isolating this campaign down to the base. There are Republicans who are alienated by the Palin message in this territory. Some, however, really love it, and that's where they get the cheers at the rallies. But if you're playing for cheers at the rallies, that is not the way to win the independents.
Is the jury in or out on the governor's usefulness? I mean, David Brooks just equated her today to cancer to the GOP because she's not just about the rejection of liberal ideas. He wrote that she's about the rejection of ideas, period.
All we have to do is look at polls. The Washington Post poll last week showed decisively that Palin is a drag on the ticket. All polls are showing a dramatic increase in her negatives. Her disapproval rating is skyrocketing. There is no conceivable case you can make using polls to indicate she helps this ticket. A majority of the respondents to polls say she is not ready to be president. Those same people say Joe Biden, for example, is of course ready to be president. Obama's ready. McCain's ready. So I don't see what you could possibly point to in the polls to indicate that Palin is a positive for this ticket.
So I don't want to wish bad luck on you, but let me say that let's assume now that something changes in Mr. McCain's mind and he turns to you and says, I need you to run my campaign the rest of the way. If you could possibly do that morally, what would you tell him to do at this point?
I think the only thing you can do is take your guidance from the voters on this. They're telling you, look, John McCain, your instinct was right when the Wall Street crisis broke. Your instinct was, I've got to be a man of action. I've got to do something about it. Your instinct was right. Your behavior wasn't. Your public statements weren't. But he's got to zero in on this and try to win this on the issue that voters care about most. There's no other strategy. And for them to be a campaign that says, if we talk about the number one issue that voters care about, then we will lose. That is the definition of a hopeless campaign. McCain has got to overrule his advisors on that one.
So buying the mortgages, the idea he sprung last night was not a bad idea, but it was just 3 weeks too late?
It is probably both a bad idea in policy terms and how it could be executed. I mean, my house, by the way, John McCain, is worth less than it was a year ago. Do I get in on this deal? I mean, exactly how you would define who belongs in this deal seems, to me, legislatively impossible. Having worked on some legislation in my time in the Senate, I don't see how you could write it accurately. But what it does seem like at this point is the kind of thing the voter would like to hear more of, not just one sentence. Concentrate on it. Keep coming back to it. If you really have a good idea there, keep coming back to it during the debate and throughout the campaign.
Or even if it's a bad idea, just make it look good. Lawrence O'Donnell, the contributor to Huffington Post and MSNBC, of course. Thank you as always, sir.